Welcome to ENT student for discussion on endocrine imaging part 1.
There have been many advances in imaging in the last decade. Most hospitals now have access to ultrasound equipment with high spatial resolution and color Doppler. Multi-slice CT has enabled the accuracy of thin section scans in a 3D data block, enabling manipulation of the data to give high resolution images in any plane. Function imaging using nuclear medicine and in particular positron emission topography can access tumor metabolism with FDG glucose positron emission tomography combined with CT demonstrating areas of increased glucose metabolism with anatomical correlation.
So the development in the last decade has been phenomenal. As we know, we are using ultrasonography with a high spatial resolution, and along with it we are also using the color Doppler. This is one important development that occurred. Along with this, the multi-slice CT scanner helping in acquisition of scans with a 3D data block. It helps in the manipulation of high resolution images. Number one, high resolution images. Number two, in any plane. So any plane can be observed with this multi-slice CT scan. Other important aspects are functional imaging, which not only helps us in understanding the anatomy but also the physiology. Anatomy plus physiology, you can keep it in mind as a concept. It is with the help of a nuclear medicine, especially these PET scans. Positron emission tomographies are the most important, which are using the metabolism of FDG glucose PET scan, FDG PET scans. So fluorodeoxyglucose PET scans. These FDG PET scans combined with CT scan. FDG helps us in physiology understanding, CT scan helps in anatomical understanding. So we have got an idea of increased glucose metabolism by the cancer cells along with the anatomical correlation. So we have got a physiological scan available plus anatomical scan so that we can understand the organ as a whole.
Imaging may be assessed to assess thyroid morphology and function. There is no single imaging modality available presently that can adequately perform both. Ultrasound is the best technique to use if the texture of the gland needs to be examined. Ultrasound penetrates bone and gas poorly. Retrosternal extension of gland is therefore better demonstrated by CT or MRI. The laryngeal cartilage framework is also poorly penetrated by ultrasound and therefore formal staging of thyroid cancer is better performed by CT, which was examined both neck and chest. CT will however use iodine contrast agent intravenously. MRI can be used to evaluate the neck and mediastinum with an unenhanced CT performs to stage pulmonary metastatic disease if an iodine load will affect clinical management.
So we are going to assess the thyroid morphology. Number one, that is anatomy. Number two is the function. So one modality is not enough for this. We are going to do the ultrasound scan, which is the best technique for understanding the texture of the gland, which is to be examined. But unfortunately, ultrasound cannot assess the bone and the gas. So for the soft tissues, it is good, like thyroid. But retrosternal extension can be done, demonstrated as we have already seen in the previous lecture. It is the CT scan and MRI which are helpful. If you go for the laryngeal cartilages, they are poorly penetrated by ultrasound. You cannot see the cartilages also. Bone cannot be seen, even the cartilages cannot be seen by the ultrasound. So staging of the thyroid cancer in this situation, it is performed by CT scan, which can be done for CT neck can be done and CT chest can be done. So for malignancy of the thyroid, you should keep it in mind. You should order for both CT scan neck and also the chest, both in liaison. At a time we can do it. But there is one problem with the CT wherein the iodinated contrast CECT contrast CT scan cannot be given intravenously for every case, as it can lead to acute toxicity, so which is contraindicated in some of the cases. In that situation, MRI is helpful to evaluate the neck and also the mediastinum, and along with that an unenhanced CT scan can be performed. For what? CT chest can be performed for pulmonary metastasis, that is lung metastasis, if at all if we think that the iodine load is going to affect the management.
The administration of IV iodinated contrast agents will affect radioactive iodine uptake for up to 6 weeks. Ultrasound may be used to guide fine needle aspiration of focal thyroid mass It can also use it to guide aspiration or biopsy of suspicious neck node. Thyroid scintigraphy is most commonly performed using technetium, petechnet or iodine 123 or 131. Nodules that do not take up radioisotope are termed cold nodules. Those that are equivalent to surrounding thyroid tissue are described as warm, and those that take up more radioisotope than surrounding tissue are described as hot.
So in this situation, we have to understand that if iodinated contrast agents, so you want to write CECT in that if iodine is present, that will affect the radioactive iodine uptake for 6 weeks. If you are giving iodine, it will compete with the radioactive iodine ablation. That is the concept here, keep it in mind. Till 6 weeks you cannot give radioactive iodine ablation. You cannot go for radioactive iodine ablation if you are going to go for iodine contrast agents. That first point you have to keep it in mind. And as well ultrasound along with FNAC. So USG guided FNAC of a focal thyroid mass is going to help us in aspiration or biopsy of the suspicious neck node. This is a known point for us. And coming to the thyroid scintigraphy. So for example, thyroid gland is a person coming for a photograph. How do you understand this? This scintigraphy can be done with technetium pertechnetate number 1 or iodine 123 or iodine 131. So imagine this thyroid gland is a person coming for a photograph. There are 3 types of persons. Too hot a person, too cold a person, too warm a person. So when you take too warm a person, as you could see in this, nodules that can take up radioactive iodine, they can be termed as cold nodules. So they try to take up the radioactive iodine, they can be called as cold nodules. Those which are equivalent to the surrounding tissues are warm. Okay. So when some person comes to your home, you are welcoming them warm-heartedly. So they are equivalent to us, you think like that. So cold nodules are something which are more dangerous, warm are okay, and those which take up more radioisotope, they can be described as hot. Okay. So 3 types of persons, very hot person. So he is taking and eating a lot of radioactive iodine. So that is one group. And other group is cold nodules, and the third group is warm nodules. So cold, warm and hot. These are the 3 terms that you have to remember when you are talking about thyroid scintigraphy. Thyroid scintigraphy with iodine 123 or iodine 131 or technetium pertechnetate scan. So this is a different concept. Thyroid scintigraphy is a different concept, and radioactive iodine ablation is a different concept. We should not get confused between these two.
Normal thyroid. Normal thyroid appears of homogeneous even intermediate reflectivity on ultrasound. The 2 lobes of thyroid can be identified with the bridging isthmus. Small hypoechoic areas which can stimulate nodules are seen due to blood vessels. The flow within these structures can readily be delineated by examination using color or power Doppler.
So when we are coming to the ultrasound concepts of a normal thyroid, we are starting with the normal thyroid. So as we know the anatomy, having 2 lobes joined by an isthmus like this is the major way we understand the thyroid. So how does it appear? Homogeneous. It's not heterogeneous. Homogeneous means it should all be looking similar. And even intermediate reflectivity. Okay. So the reflectivity is not too more or too less. So reflectivity, as because the ultrasound are waves, they go on and pass on a structure and then come back. So based on that only we will see the shadows. So the reflectivity of thyroid gland is intermediate, as we understand with this statement, it is intermediate. We are going to see in the picture also. The 2 lobes of the thyroid along with the bridging isthmus can be seen. So 2 lobes along with bridging isthmus can be seen. Small hypoechoic areas which simulate nodules are seen due to blood vessels. So small hypoechoic areas that are present, they are similar to thyroid nodules. So imagine, so echo is down. So hypoechoic area, they simulate the nodules. What this author is saying is they simulate the nodules. The hypoechoic area is because of the presence of blood vessels, according to this statement, what we understand. So if blood vessels are there, then we have to go for examination with a color Doppler or power Doppler. Wherever the blood flow is there, the concept of radiology is that we have to go for a Doppler. This point everybody knows here. So Doppler has to be done. So when you see more amount of blood vessels, you have to see this with this Doppler. That is one concept which is framed in our mind right now. So hypoechoic areas, they simulate the nodules which are due to blood vessels. This is especially in the normal thyroid gland. So as you could see in this particular thing, so I am not expert in ultrasound, maybe hyperechoic or hypoechoic. This is the one which is similarly looking like a nodule, as you could see in the gland. So we will take the help of radiologist also to present these slides. Okay, so maybe this should be taken as normal and the blood flow here is more.
The thyroid is of higher attenuation than soft tissue on CT, causing it to appear brighter than adjacent muscles. This is because the iodine located within the gland has higher atomic number than soft tissue. Calcium within bone and cartilage or within a thyroid nodule has a higher atomic number than iodine and will appear denser than surrounding normal thyroid tissue. The gland will enhance homogeneously and thus appear brighter following intravenous contrast.
So one more concept of CT scan based on the thyroid gland which we are trying to see over here is thyroid has higher attenuation. So attenuation, as we know, the literal meaning of this attenuation is it stops. Accentuate means increase, attenuation is decreased. So we will rest to see in the grammatical understanding. So attenuation it decreases than the soft tissue on the CT. So if a muscle is there and if a thyroid gland is there, so as you could see, the stopping of the rays by this thyroid gland is more. So it's a higher attenuation than soft tissue on the CT, causing it appear brighter than the adjacent muscle. So if you take bone, it is the most attenuating structure that is present. For example, vertebrae that are there, they will be the most white color, as you could see in the CT scan. And once if you take thyroid, the next whitest will be the thyroid gland. First will be the bone, next will be the whitest, that is the thyroid gland, according to this statement as we are able to see. And the least will be the muscle that is not able to attenuate that much. Why? The reason given by the author is that iodine is there concentrated in the thyroid gland. When you could say some X element is there in the muscle, so it is lesser than iodine. And if you take calcium, it is still more than that. So it is a bone that is having calcium that is going to have most attenuation. So calcium within the bone and the cartilage or within the thyroid nodule, for the matter of fact, if there is any calcifications, as we understand in malignancy, it has got a higher atomic number than the iodine. So calcium has got higher atomic number than iodine and it appears denser than the surrounding normal thyroid tissue. So muscle which is less than thyroid, which is less than calcified thyroid, which is less than bone. So as you could see, the whiteness keeps on increasing, that is the brightness keeps on increasing as we understand with these statements. So once again, if you want to enhance homogeneously, thus appear brighter following intravenous contrast. So what we have seen, muscle is less brighter, thyroid is more brighter because of the iodine content. If iodinated contrast is given more and more to the thyroid gland gets concentrated with iodinated contrast, so enhances homogeneously as a whole. So it is just like a bride that has been made up for the marriage. So iodine acts like a makeup for this thyroid gland and it brilliantly grows. It brilliantly glows when we try to give intravenous contrast. That way you can understand the concept of how iodinated contrast helps in increasing the, enhancing the homogeneously enhancing gland in case of iodinated contrast. So this is because of iodine that is given to the gland, that is taken up by the gland. The CT scan is demonstrating normal thyroid of similar attenuation. So what is this attenuation? That is the density that you are able to see to the adjacent contrast enhanced vessels and of higher attenuation than the muscle, as you could see here. So this is the thyroid gland, as you could see here in the CT scan. In front of the trachea we have to identify with the common sense over here. And this is the bone, as you could see here, and these are the muscles that you could see here. So if you take these muscles, so and then if you take these blood vessels that are there in and around, so I'm poor at identifying this, but I am trying to say I think these are the blood vessels that have got contrast enhancement. Contrast enhanced blood vessels, these are the one. So almost with this contrast they are comparable with what he is saying is normal thyroid of similar attenuation density of adjacent contrast enhanced blood vessels. If you take these are the blood vessels, this seems to be the thyroid gland, which is almost having similar makeup as of this contrast enhanced blood vessels. This is the bone which is the most brilliant among all these structures.
The normal thyroid on MRI has a signal intensity slightly higher than that of adjacent stalk muscles on T1 weighted sequence and hyperintense compared to those on T2 weighted sequence. Gadolinium based contrast agents given intravenously will enhance normal thyroid tissue, causing it to appear higher intense to muscle on T1 weighted sequences.
So once again, Purin identifying all these things based on the statements will go in normal thyroid and MRI. So when we are taking the normal thyroid and MRI, it has got a signal intensity slightly higher. What he is saying is slightly higher than that of the adjacent staph muscles. So what is wrong in this statement? So even in CT scan, the thyroid is more better than the muscles that are there around. So especially in T1 MRI also, they are slightly higher. T1 weighted sequences, and it is hyper intense compared to those on the T2 weighted sequence. So it is more in T1 than T2 according to this statement, as far as we understand. We see in the picture also. Once we give gadolinium based contrast, especially intravenously, it will enhance the normal thyroid tissue, causing it to appear hyper intense on muscle on T1 weighted sequences. So whatever is the sequence, we understand that thyroid gland is more than a muscle. So, but especially in T1 it is better than T2, as we are able to understand with this picture. So we'll see in the picture how it is going to be depicted. So T2 weighted MRI scan, especially noting the normal thyroid gland. I think this should be the normal thyroid gland in and around the trachea. Left lobe contains a small cyst. So this author is showing the cyst over here. So we being poor at identifying, okay, we should imagine that this is going to be a thyroid scan T2 weighted, and then especially showing the cyst. This is only a demonstration of the picture, that's it.
Pathology. Palpable thyroid nodule are present in 4 to 10% of adult population. However, less than 1% of all cancers occur in the thyroid gland. The differentiation of benign nodule, which may require no specific treatment, from a malignant nodule presents as a diagnostic dilemma. At present, there is no firm consensus as to correlate evaluation of thyroid nodules. Imaging is playing an increasing role in diagnostic evaluation of patients who either present with a thyroid swelling or with an incidentally discovered thyroid nodules.
So based on the understanding, palpable thyroid nodules, as we could see. So palpable thyroid nodules, there we could see that grade 1 we can from this particular previous discussion. So from the grade 1, how much they are present means of course 10% of the adult population. So 1 out of 10 person is going to have a palpable node. As we have seen, the multinodular goiter is almost like 60 crore people are having multinodular goiter in the world out of the 600 crore population, if we take roughly. So based on that, so 1 in 10 will be having a palpable thyroid nodules. So when 10 people are having thyroid nodules, 1 will be a palpable one according to this author. But less than 10% of all the cancers occur in the thyroid gland. If you take 100 cancers of the body, only 1% out of one cancer will be a thyroid cancer. That should be kept in mind. And as we already know, 5 to 10% of these nodules or thyroid goiters, they become malignancy. That is a known fact, known figure, which is already known to everyone. The problem here is the differentiation of a benign nodule, whether it is a benign nodule which may require no specific treatment, whether treatment is needed or not, that you should be able to confirm, from a malignant nodule which needs a treatment which has to be excised. So we are concerned about this 5 out of this 100. But there is always a diagnostic dilemma according to this pathological understanding is concerned. There is no consensus as to how to evaluate the thyroid nodules as of such now. Based on which imaging is playing an increasing role. Imaging is helping us to have this diagnostic evaluation who present with a thyroid swelling or an incidentally discovered thyroid nodule. So incidentally discovered thyroid nodule, for all these things imaging is helping us.
The increased incidence of neck ultrasound for other conditions has resulted in increased diagnosis of non-palpable thyroid nodules in patients who are euthyroid and asymptomatic. The diagnostic workup of these patients presents a particular challenge. true cysts within thyroid are uncommon. Cystic change may be seen within benign and malignant conditions. The presence of fluid can be identified readily on ultrasound appearing anechoic.
So especially why this neck ultrasound has increased, it is because of the patients who are undergoing it more commonly. It is also helping us in increasing the diagnosis of non-palpable thyroid nodules. So unseen thyroid nodules are being diagnosed because of this ultrasound, this neck ultrasound. They can be euthyroid, most of the times they can be asymptomatic also, but because of the ultrasound scan report we are able to see that thyroid gland enlargement is occurring. But it is always a challenge to diagnose these types of patients, especially in the case of true cysts within the thyroid which are uncommon. When you take a cystic change in this thyroid, they are also uncommonly seen. Cysts are not very common in thyroid according to this author. Cystic change is very important, especially both in benign and malignant conditions. So whether cysts are associated with benign or malignant means you should be able to say it is seen both in benign and malignant conditions. The presence of a fluid in this particular cyst, in this particular ultrasound, is like anechoic. The cyst is anechoic. So this one word is used by the author to understand the ultrasound appearance of a fluid in the cyst, which is anechoic. It is not going to produce any echo.
The phenomenon of posterior enhancement will be present, which is seen as a band of increased reflectivity behind the fluid content structure. The morphology of a cyst is better demonstrated with ultrasound than with CT or MRI. Cystic lesions will appear as areas of low attenuation, dark on CT, and will appear of low SI on dark on TW1 sequence and high signal intensity bright on T2W and STIR scans. Internal structure and wall thickness can be assessed with ultrasound. Color flow Doppler may be used to interpret any soft tissue nodules to try and differentiate between viable tissue and clot or debris.
So there are many radiological words. Once again, we have to take the help of radiologist here. But based on understanding of the concept, what is written, we will try to analyze it. Posterior enhancement. This is one word he is telling. So which will be present, is seen as a band of increased reflectivity behind the fluid containing structures. So he is saying posterior enhancement, that is some reflectivity there in the posterior part, which is shown in the figure, which we are going to discuss, of course. Morphology of a cyst is better demonstrated by ultrasound. So when you find a cystic lesion, whether you want to go for ultrasound or CT scan or MRI means, you should tell the examiner that you want to go to the ultrasound for a cyst. Don't go for CT or MRI, not needed. And according to the cystic lesion appearances in the CT and all, in CT, there are areas of low attenuation. So normally the thyroid gland looks as a made up person, so which is bright, but cystic lesion, it is a low attenuating lesion and will appear as low signal intensity, that is dark on T1 weighted and high signal intensity bright on T2 weighted images. So cyst will be appearing as low on T1 and high on T2 according to this statement. And the STIR scans, all the STIR scans, so all these things are there. An internal structure and wall of the thickness wall of the cyst can be assessed with ultrasound. So better go for ultrasound rather than CT scan or MRI as far as cyst is concerned. This is one carry home message with this slide. Rest are all details of scans which are not important as an ENT surgeon, which is to be analyzed by the radiologist. It is their corridor. And once you go for color flow Doppler, which may be helpful to interrogate any soft tissue nodules to try and differentiate between viable tissue or clot or debris. Once again, when you find it is a vessel related or blood related issue, you go for Doppler. So this is one concept which you should understand. So cyst, you go for ultrasound, USG. Okay. Or for example, you have got a clot or debris, you have to go for Doppler. This is the basic concept that you should derive from this slide. Rest all, if you are able to remember, it's okay. If not, it's not our business to remember all these things.
A simple goiter will appear enlarged on ultrasound and may be of homogeneous reflectivity but may be diffusely heterogeneous and of increased or decreased reflectivity. A multinodular goiter may be generally heterogeneous with more focal areas altered reflectivity due to the nodules. These are often hypoechoic compared to adjacent normal thyroid tissue. Cystic change will result in area of fluid causing regions of anechoic change if fluid is simple.
So once again, the author is analyzing about the changes in the ultrasound. We have already seen cystic change is anechoic. Keep in mind, cyst echo cannot be seen properly. Only the posterior reflection can be seen. The cyst that we have already analyzed. And we take simple goiter. They appear to be enlarged. Goiter is an enlargement of thyroid, it's already known, and maybe of homogeneous. If it is simple goiter, it is a homogeneous reflectivity. All the reflection will be homogeneous, but may be diffusely heterogeneous and of increased or decreased reflectivity. So it depends upon the tissue. So it can be homogeneous completely or diffusely heterogeneous. So you can say diffusely, all the things are looking similar, whether it is homogeneous or heterogeneous. But difference comes in the case of multinodular goiter, MNG, wherein generally heterogeneous with focal areas of altered reflectivity due to nodules. So difference in the reflectivity will help us say in the ultrasound there are nodules in the thyroid. Of course, it's a palpation